Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Just Law on IQRA TV. I'm your host Ilyas Burbulia. This is the second part to the show. During the first part, we started looking at how somebody who is in the United Kingdom with a spouse partner visa, how they can extend their visa in the United Kingdom. And as I explained during the first part of the show, somebody on a spouse or a partner visa would normally be granted a 2.5-year visa, which then requires that visa to be extended after the first 2.5 years have been completed. And we looked at the process that's involved and how majority of the tasks are now done online and it's a digitalized process. We looked at the sort of key things that you need to bear in mind from the outset. Now, what I then moved on to is to look at the specific requirements which need to be fulfilled, and there are some key documents that need to be submitted, and we started looking at that, and I was explaining that you need to submit your passport, the applicant's passport, your partner who will be British or somebody who's settled in the United Kingdom normally, copy of their passport, your biometric residence permit. Obviously it's an application based on marriage, so the marriage certificate as well. Now, if there are children from the marriage, then you will submit their birth certificates, and if they have a passport, a copy of their passports as well. So there are some of the key simple documents that are submitted: your passports, your BRP card, your marriage certificate, etc. Let's take our next call before we return to this. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, कैसे हैं सब खैरियत से?
जी अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह जी जी।
हमने पूछना था ये जो आप डिस्कस टॉपिक है इसी से मुतालिक जो बच्चों की एप्लीकेशन है उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा बताएंगे, जिन्होंने बच्चे के बेस पर अप्लाई किया और उनको एक्सटेंशन पे जाना है जी। उसमें क्वेश्चन ये है कि पूरा फाइल हमने अपलोड करना है जी, और जो प्रीवियस इमिग्रेशन है वो भी अपलोड करना है, और क्या क्या ये जरा इसके बारे में बताएंगे। आप तो पार्टनर्स के बारे में बता रहे हैं
जी जी। जो अगर वो चिल्ड्रन के बेसिस पे है ना, तो नॉर्मली इसमें ये होता है ना कि किसी ने ओवरस्टे हो गया है किसी का वीज़ा और फिर वो चिल्ड्रन के बेसिस पे मिला वीज़ा जी। तो ये जो चिल्ड्रन के बेसिस की जो वीज़ा है ना, तो वो कैसे मिला था? पहले ओवरस्टे हो गए थे और फिर चिल्ड्रन के बेसिस पे वीज़ा मिला, ऐसा हुआ था? या चिल्ड्रन की भी जो वीज़ा है वो थोड़ी सी डिफरेंट है।
वो इमिग्रेशन ही केस था, वो रिजॉल्व नहीं हुआ था, तो बाद में चिल्ड्रन बेस पर जो है वो अप्लाई किया था कि भाई एक बच्चा है ब्रिटिश सिटीजन है और
ब्रिटिश सिटीजन है वो बेसिस पे,
या फादर है ब्रिटिश सिटीजन, उसी बेस पर
ओके
अब वो दोबारा एक्सटेंड कराने का जी।
तो इसमें है ना मेन फोकस है ना वो फैमिली लाइफ पे होता है इस पे। सो यहाँ जो शादी के बेस पे हम जो कहते हैं ना कि वो ये घर का बताओ, ये इनकम का बताओ, तो इस पे वो फोकस नहीं है। जो चिल्ड्रन वाले जो केसेस है ना, स्पेशली जो आपने बात की कि द चाइल्ड इज़ ब्रिटिश, तो उसके बेसिस पे वीज़ा मिला है। तो इसमें मेन ये बताना है कि चिल्ड्रन के साथ रहते हैं, या तो अगर सेपरेट है तो चिल्ड्रन के साथ कॉन्टैक्ट है। सो ये दो टाइप के केस होते हैं ना। एक तो वेयर द एप्लीकेंट ये कहता है ना कि आई लिव विद माई चाइल्ड हु इज़ ब्रिटिश, या तो फिर वो कहता है कि मैं वाइफ से सेपरेट हो गया हूँ मगर मैं मेरे बच्चे से मिलता हूँ। सो ये दोनों डिफरेंट केसेस है, तो इसमें डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ एविडेंस सबमिट करना पड़ता है। तो आप जो
मेरे कॉन्टैक्ट वाला है
राइट, ओके। कॉन्टैक्ट में वो थोड़ा सा इजी है कॉन्टैक्ट वाला इन वन सेंस के इसमें तो ऑब्वियसली ये नहीं बताने की ज़रूरत नहीं है कि एवरीबॉडी इज टुगेदर। आपको सिर्फ ये बताना है कि लोग आपका एड्रेस ये है विच इज़ डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द चाइल्ड्स एड्रेस, आपका एड्रेस ये है। द की डॉक्यूमेंट जो है ना जो आपको चाहिए, की डॉक्यूमेंट इज़ वाइफ की तरफ से एक वो स्टेटमेंट चाहिए, एफिडेविट, जो अगर वो दे देगी ना तो वो इजी हो जाएगा। अगर वो नहीं देगी तो फिर आपको कोर्ट का ऑर्डर चाहिए कि आप बच्चे से मिलते हैं। सो दोनों में से जो कॉन्टैक्ट वाले केसेस है ना, वह चाइल्ड के साथ नहीं रहते, वो चाइल्ड सिर्फ कॉन्टैक्ट है वीकली या जो भी है, तो इसमें द की एविडेंस इज़ कि वाइफ स्टेटमेंट में कंफर्म करे कि आप मिलते हैं बच्चे के साथ, या तो आप कोर्ट का ऑर्डर डालें कि कोर्ट ने ऑर्डर दिया है कि आप बच्चे से मिल सकते हैं। ये मेन डॉक्यूमेंट्स है। इसमें फाइनेंशियल रिक्वायरमेंट्स भी आप सेटिस्फाई कर सकते हैं मगर इतना इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है। ये जो वीज़ा है ना वो 10 ईयर रूट पे है या 5 ईयर रूट पे है?
10 ईयर
10 ईयर रूट में पैसे का कोई इशू नहीं है, इंग्लिश का कोई इशू नहीं है, अकोमोडेशन का कोई इशू नहीं है, बस कोई नहीं है। मेन फोकस ये है कि हाउ डू यू प्रूव कि बच्चे के साथ कांटेक्ट है। वाइफ का स्टेटमेंट और पासपोर्ट कंफर्मिंग के यस अब मिलते हैं, या तो कोर्ट का ऑर्डर।
That's good. Thank you, Ilyas.
नो प्रॉब्लम, जज़ाकल्लाह आपका कॉल के लिए, थैंक यू वेरी मच, थैंक यू, वालेकुम अस्सलाम। We'll take our next call. Oh, I think the call's been dropped. Yep. So, sorry, I know we've had to wait a while to get through, but please do call again and we'll try and address your questions. So, we were looking at what are the key documents. So, we've on a case where the application is on the basis of marriage, you're extending your partner or spouse visa. Key document, simple, your passports, your BRP card, your marriage certificate, etc. Simple. So main identity type document, simple. And this is something I mentioned before the break. English is an important aspect at this stage. In the same way that when the initial spouse or partner application was made, you had to submit an A1 certificate in English. At the extension stage, you need to submit a certificate which is one step higher. So it needs to be at the extension stage an A2 certificate in English. And the test which is done in the United Kingdom is a test which is done at a college called Trinity College Trinity College London. Although it says Trinity College London, there are branches across the United Kingdom, and those who are up north, there is a branch here in Leeds as well, but there are branches across the United Kingdom, although the organisation is called Trinity College London, and they do the A2 test for the extension of the visa. Now, it's not that difficult. Somebody who passed the English test initially to come to the United Kingdom, they've done the A1 test, they've come to the United Kingdom. They've obviously then spent 2.5 years in the United Kingdom. At that stage, one would think that their English has improved to such a level that they are able to pass the next test, which is at A2 level. So that's one of the key requirements which need to be fulfilled, which is passing the English test. Second key requirement that needs to be fulfilled is there is a financial requirement which needs to be met, which is more or less identical to the financial requirement which was met initially when the spouse or partner application was made from abroad, whether it was made from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, or wherever it is. The key difference at the extension stage is that the income of both parties can be taken into account. So if you go back to when the person in the United Kingdom was calling the husband and wife over, the whole focus was on the person who's in the UK. The whole focus was on their income. They must be earning 18,600. At the extension stage, it is easier because you can take both employment, both types of income into account. You can take into account the income of the UK person if they're working, and you can also take into account the income earned by the applicant who's come over from abroad. So it's easier. Take, for example, a situation where both parties earn, say, £10,000 a year. So combined, the income is £20,000, which meets the £18,600 requirement. So you would have heard a lot about 18,600 requirement. That's how much you need to be earning. So that's the requirement which would have been met at the initial application stage when the spouse partner application was made. And now at the extension stage, again, we're looking at the same requirement, £18,600. That's the earnings, but it's easier because you can take both parties' income into account. In the most simplest of cases, and life isn't always this simple, in the most simplest of cases, what you would normally do is submit evidence in terms of 6 months of wage slips, 6 months of bank statements, and an employment letter for both the husband and the wife if they're both working, and show that the income requirement, whether joint or whether one party's income, if that's what you're relying on, meets the £18,600 requirement. Obviously, cases aren't necessarily that simple. There will be people who've lost their job, started their job just recently, so they've only been in that employment for a couple of months. There'll be people who will be self-employed, running their own little business, whether as a sole trader or a director of their own little company. There'll be people who have savings that they want to rely on. There might be people who are exempt completely from this 18,600 requirement because they're in receipt of carers allowance or disability living allowance, etc. In the same way that there are various different ways in which the financial requirement can be met at the outset when the application is made for the husband or wife to come to the United Kingdom, in the same way at the extension stage you have all these different rules which deal with the financial requirement, whether it has to be met, whether you're exempt, and the different types of documentary evidence which will need to be submitted to corroborate the income of £18,600. So there's complex rules which govern this, and it's the complexity of the rules which does normally mean that it's becoming increasingly difficult for those who are here to try and do the application themselves. What you tend to find is that applicants will need, generally speaking, will need to use an immigration lawyer in order to make the application. So we've looked at the income requirement, so that's something that you must bear in mind. So English, you must bear in mind. The financial requirement, you must bear in mind. Along with the financial requirement, tagged along to that is this requirement in relation to accommodation. Is there suitable, satisfactory accommodation available for the couple or not, or in particularly for the applicant or not? That, in my experience, doesn't normally present a problem. At the extension stage, the Home Office is generally prepared to just accept whatever evidence that you submit of the accommodation. So you might say, look, the accommodation is owned by us, here's a copy of the land registry deeds, or it's owned by my family, or I am a tenant at the property, here's a tenancy agreement. The Home Office doesn't necessarily look at that in as much detail as it does when the initial spouse application is made. So when an initial spouse application is made, normally you'd advise clients to obtain housing reports, etc., just to show that the accommodation, not only is there enough space, but the accommodation is satisfactory as well. But at the extension stage, there seems to be less emphasis on getting housing reports, etc. Normally the Home Office will accept the evidence which is provided, whether it's deeds for the property that you own, if you're living with family, deeds for the property that you own along with a letter from the owner of the property, or if you're a tenant, maybe a tenancy agreement relating to the property. Generally speaking, the Home Office will accept that evidence and not raise queries in relation to that. So that's, to some extent, accommodation requirement is to some extent an easier requirement to meet. The key things that we've considered so far, and we'll consider the last bit next, but the key requirement, and this is something that you should bear in mind from the outset, is that there is an English language requirement, there is a financial requirement, so you must earn the required amount of money. Accommodation, generally speaking, you don't need to worry about. The final requirement which you need to bear in mind is that you have to prove that the relationship is genuine and subsisting. Now, this is something that is looked at by the Home Office when the initial application for a spouse or partner visa is made. Now, if you remember, and if you've gone to a lawyer, the lawyer would have said to you, look, we need to prove that your relationship is genuine. How do we do that? The lawyer would have said, well, get me photographs of both of you together. If you've been calling your husband or wife, get me evidence of that. So get me screenshots of the calls that you've made. If you've been messaging each other, get me evidence of the messages that you've been sending. So in the same way that you prove the relationship at that stage, you must prove the relationship by way of submitting letters and bills in your names coming to the same address over the last 2.5 years. That's how you prove the relationship. That, unfortunately, brings us to the end of the show. Inshallah, we'll be back next week on Monday at 6 o'clock. Until then, Assalamu alaikum.